Our session has three speakers. Professor Rukmini Bhaya, ऐसे ही pose करते हैं. और इनका introduction है. Next is Dr. Saumya Malviya. Now. Our session has three speakers. Professor Rukmini Bhaya, ऐसे ही pose करते हैं. और इनका introduction है. Next is Dr. Saumya Malviya. Now. Our session has three speakers. Professor Rukmini Bhaya, ऐसे ही pose करते हैं. और इनका introduction है. Next is Dr. Saumya Malviya. Now. Our session has three speakers. Professor Rukmini Bhaya, ऐसे ही pose करते हैं. और इनका introduction है. Next is
गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख गोपी मैम का करते सुन मेरा नाम काट डॉक्टर गोपी लिख
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. We are starting with our session. Our guests have arrived. I request you all to welcome them with a warm round of applause. Good afternoon. It gives me the immense pleasure presenting the session to Equinox. Taking the session 3 here at Medley College. All to today's gathering was more than just an academic exchange. It is a celebration of ideas, insights, and expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor C. Roy, to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you. Expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor C. Roy, to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you. Expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor C. Roy, to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you. Expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor C. Roy, to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you. Expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor C. Roy, to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you. Expanding horizons of knowledge. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Gopal College, Dr. Lumi, Dr. Reema Yadav, and Professor. We are deeply honored to have with us our esteemed chairperson of the session and honorable speaker. I now request our guest to kindly proceed to the dais. Our session has 3 speakers. Professor Rukmini Bhaya Nair. Our speaker, Professor Rukmini Bhaya Nair, Professor at IIT Delhi and Global Professional Fellow at Queen Mary University of London, is a renowned linguistic, literary theorist, and a poet. Our second speaker, Professor Reema Bhatia, Professor of Sociology at Miranda House, DU, has over 20 years of teaching experience. A recipient of Distinguished Teachers Award, her research span developed policy, environment, and health. She has authored and edited several significant work. Our third speaker is Dr. Saumya Malviya, is a social anthropologist and assistant professor at IIT Mandi, a PhD from Delhi School of Economics. It is my privilege to introduce our chairperson of the session, Dr. Anjali Bhatia, Associate Professor in the Department of Sociology at Lady Shri Ram College of Women, New Delhi. Dr. Bhatia's doctoral work at Jawaharlal Nehru University explored how global fast food chains and indigenous eateries reshaped family relationships in India's changing social fabric. Her area of interest, sociology of food, family, childhood, youth, and the middle class, connect deeply with our everyday lives, showing how ordinary practices reflect larger social transformation. Beyond her research, Dr. Bhatia has represented India sociology at international forums in Japan, the United States, and beyond. She also plays a vital role in shaping the undergraduate sociology curriculum under the National Education Policy. On behalf of Equinox team and the Metri College, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you, Dr. Bhatia. We now hand over the session to you. You can hide the Ma'am, first is Rukmini, ma'am.
By the time. So, hello, friends. It's a lovely day. I don't know whether you've seen outside. It's a beautiful September 10th afternoon. And thank you so much for, I guess, inviting me and, just setting up this panel and conference. It is my privilege, my honor to chair this session where we have speakers of eminence. Professor Rukmini Bhaya Nair, known to all of us as the most eminent. And it is my pleasure to invite her to present her paper, which is on language, love, and lying.
Thank you. I have to, Uddha say, what about? No, it's fine. Look, we're saving good time. Let's forget protocol. Let me, the student, it's important that the students. Yes, sure. I will. It's fine. Otherwise, it's a long business. No, don't wait. Something, let something introduce. I think first of all, I need my. Yeah. Okay, so PPT. Okay, this is fine, but I need my PPT. I'm very. Ma'am, you PPT is there. Okay, just leave. Okay. That's just it. So I control it from here. I think you want to control it from there. No, he said I could control it from here. It was. Blue one. This one. Exactly. Okay. So.
I would want to be in the line of I am just move the chair.
ये इधर से Hi, my name is Rukmini Nair, and it's an extreme pleasure for me to be here. I also want to say to you, I know that this is not the Rukmini lectures, but I just want to say that I believe that we Indians are a very vivacious and also interruptive culture. We are not afraid of interrupting anybody. So if you do not understand or are desperate to interrupt, just put your hands up or just say, ma'am, and I will respond. Okay? Because nothing's sacred about a lecture. So, and can you hear me? Is the other question. Okay? So, so this is my title, Language, Love, and Lying. And the subtitle is about AI. What AI machines, today we have large language models and all that. So we want to know, are they human-like or are they not? So that's a basic question. So let me just run you through my slides, and please feel free to fall asleep. It is post-lunch. So I have two sections, Mind, Machines, and Language, which is based on a course I taught at IIT, and the other for many years. And the other one is called Language, Love, and Line. So only two sections. And in these two sections, what is connecting the two sections is the idea of language, which is common to both. Can you see? So the language is at the end of Mind, Machines, and Language, and at the beginning of section 2, Language, Love, and Line. So you can see a faint line, which I've hand drawn to connect the two. Okay, now what do I mean? You all know these IIT guys. They often ask me questions like, ma'am, why should we read a novel? It's a waste of time. And I think of this as a profound question. So one is the IITs IITians who are very interested in science, technology, and and how machines work. And on the other side, I don't know whether you've seen a picture of the Antikythera, which is the first analog machine which has been developed. It's a machine, and it mimics our capacity to change the world either through using our hands and fingers or through machines. So, and what connects these two, human beings and machines, is actually language. Ludwig Wittgenstein said, who's a famous philosopher, said, without language, we cannot influence other people, we cannot build roads, we cannot build machines, and also without the use of speech and language, we could not communicate. So this is important. I'm going to go fast. So you might say, why should we bother about an old course in IIT? Why should we bother? And I'm telling you, the reason is that the past is our baseline for change. We compare ourselves to the past. Without the past, we would not have memories, social memories, individual memories, etc. And today, there is a tension between rates of change in the past and what's going on in our universities. So our universities are moving very slowly. The world outside is moving very fast. So this is a tension, and this is a research area for me. So the last thing is we now have access to things like ChatGPT and so on, which help us to improve our language behavior, our essays, and so on. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Does it result in cheating, lying, etc.? So those are the questions we will raise. Now, this is, as you know, Chacha Nehru, and he said, I'll just summarize, he said that I have no doubt that India will grow industrially, but will we lose ourselves in the quest for individual wealth and soft power? So he was worried that human beings would change. And I love this quotation. He said, I know you engineers can measure with your techniques the hardness and strength of a metal. But how do you measure the strength of an individual? You can measure how to make this roof stand. And we are very good at measurement. But are we good at measuring what people are? And that is why he had humanities and social sciences, or they decided to have humanities and social sciences inside the IITs. Are you with me still? Okay. So now on this course, we did lots and lots of things. Turing machine, Turing test, which I understand you've spoken about, what is consciousness, etc. But the main question, uniting machines and study of machines, study of AI, and the study of human biology is what makes us human. So I'm going to give you 12 points very fast, but I will only have time to discuss 2 or 3 of them. Okay? So we are tool inventing animals. And this we see from sites in Morocco is 3 million years ago. We had tools like kilns. We are cooperative animals. And we problem solve and we problem create within societies. And this is very important because if you put 50 apes like in a room, they would fight with each other. Human beings are sitting here quietly. This is because of the growth of language. We are pattern recognizing animals. I'll come to this. We are language using and creating animals. We have brains which are larger than relative to our body size, which means we have to exit from the body soon. And it takes us 4 years to get used to the outside environment. That is the span when we acquire language. Now, this I put in just for you. Find me counterexamples. We are one of the few species of animals who stand upright and who make love face to face. This is very unusual. Find me counterexamples. Okay, and we have this grip, thumb and forefinger grip, which allows us to do what? Pick up small objects from the floor and simulate our mirror neurons, stimulate. We derive aesthetic pleasure from useless activities and abstract tasks like, whatever, computer codes. We are emotionally very sophisticated and very more than practically any other species. Maybe we'll talk about emotions. We are very concerned with controlling society through norms and ethics. All this is coming out of our language brains. So we are the only species, last one, who can plan our own deaths and deaths of others. No other species imagines their own death and can execute their own deaths. This is extremely unusual because it goes against a survival reflex. So today, I believe we are in an important space where the sciences and the arts can investigate the qualities of being a higher mammal, language-using mammal like humans. Okay? Anjali, please tell me the time. Okay? You have about 20 minutes. 20 minutes, right? So I'll try to get through this. I want to tell you, you have AI, or you had AI cognizance up on the board. Now, I want to tell you where the word cognition comes from. It's very important. It comes from the word gnomon, which is a sundial to measure time. Now, like mind, you cannot see time, you cannot touch time, you cannot taste time, you cannot do anything with time, except your intuition tells you there is such a thing as time. How do you solve this problem? You measure it. You measure it with the pole, the shadow of the sun, and the positioning of the shadow. So you take abstract, ordinary, everyday parameters, and you measure an unimmeasurable quantity like time. Mind is just the same. Okay, now I come to my second section and I'll go quickly. I want you to look at these pictures and roughly in your mind, calculate what's going on. What is the first thing you see in the left or right? I'm not sure. In the picture on this side. In the picture on this side, sorry. What do you see? Just tell me, you have to give me one answer because we don't have time. Do you see? Yeah, you see animals of all sorts. Do you see the man in the center? Right? Is he an Indian man? What's your guess? He seems Indian. You have intuited that. The artist is Escher, so he is not Indian. So we are coming back to this. The other one, I wanted to ask you about the size and dimensions, the perspective of the fish. That one is by Ganga Devi, who is a Madhubani artist. Both of us are telling us something through the language of art about ourselves. This is unusual for human beings. Now, important slide for me. Our images of the world, our hopes, our fears, our dreams, they are held up by the structural properties of language. This is a unique human characteristic. You can't see language, it's inside your heads, inside your brains, but it's jolly well mediating between you and, nature. Okay, so are human beings just intricate machines? Language is widely held to be the unique defining feature of human beings. So it's important. So here's a quote: "Man is only man at the surface. Remove his skin, dissect, and immediately you come to the machinery." So for a long time, human beings were regarded as wetware machines. You do not have to agree with this view, but you have to think about it. Okay, so now I'm skipping definitions of language. I will just read the one line. Language is a purely human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions, and desires. Purely human. That's what you have to concentrate on. Okay, now animals have communication systems. Animals have that's a waggle-tail dance. Sun, same. Angle of the tree, which is the food source, and the distance. The bee conveys that by waggling its tail exactly. Many of you know that. Okay, but is it using language? I'm asking you to conduct a thought experiment. Think of the bee. Okay, now does the bee ever lie? Does the bee, for it would be very rich if it discovered a source of food and then it kept it to itself. Bees never do that. Human beings discover a mine of gold patch or anything, they keep it to themselves. That is the kind of root of all these complex emotions we have, like envy, greed, etc. Because bees do not lie. Human beings lie. Okay. So this is a chart you cannot read, but I just want you to look at the last 6, if you can read them. One is openness and novelty, displacement, and prevarication, which means lying. Human beings lie. Okay, so what are the features of language? Again, lexicon, arbitrariness. Lexicon, if you have just 2 words in your head, you can make up a sentence. Okay, like kickball. So just 2 words you need. If you have more words and we have more, we can generate complex structures. The next is arbitrariness. I'm going to skip novelty, creativity, imagination, deceit. That's what we have to think about. And then emotions. I'm going to just discuss these 3 today. So what language does for us, we can come back to this slide. Now you look at the picture of India. It's huge. Lots of countries can fit easily into India, and somebody's made this map. They fitted Thailand's and Brazil's and so on into India. India is a vast, complex society with 600 of the world's languages or something. And many people, like the Emperor Akbar, were curious about language complexity in India because they lived in India. So what he did is, we can't do this experiment today, and I do not say it's an evil experiment. He wanted to find out, like, what language will the baby speak? Will it speak at all when it comes out of the gun mahal? So he shut them up, he fed them, he shut the babies up, he fed them, and so on. And I read this in the Akbarnama, and at the end, he was very disappointed. That is Abul Fasal presenting his text to Akbar. And the interesting thing is, so Abul Fasal is recording Akbar's views on language. True or false, we don't know. But what we do know is that Akbar had another human characteristic curiosity and hypothesis formation, which is language as a social structure is marked by three different types of forms: narrative, A, B, C, D, E, F, A, D, C, looping, endlessly looping structure. Then you have conversation. So now I am talking to you, right? It's completely unnatural because we should be interrupting. You should have your turn. That is not happening. And so A, B, A, B. And finally, you have A is to B, C is to D, which is metaphor. I won't deal with it. Only three structures. Now, tropes. So this is too much writing. I will just read to you I will just tell you what this means. Think of language. You don't actually have to climb a cliff. You do not actually have to fall in love. Through language, you can learn about these experiences. So this is a chief device for learning experiences and transferring experiences. It's like a flight simulator in engineering. We didn't need language, but we have it. So that is my hypothesis. There's no need to have this. And now, again, think of what happens when you watch a movie or you listen to a gripping story, your palms will sweat, your pulse rates will go up, your eyes will focus, but you know the experience is false. It's not happening. So this is what I mean by our brains are big simulation machines. This is the job of language. So now we skip. I write books, like many academics. Nobody reads them, but they exist. And this is my latest book, which is called Deception. Okay, so I want to talk for the rest of the 5, 10, however minutes I have left. 10, 15. So I'll get less breathless and just say to you that, you see, this is my latest book. It's coming out later this thing. And I habitually write books, creative, poetry, etc. So now, again, stick it in your memories. You have very good memories. What goals are achieved by lying, do you think? Every human child has told their first lie, as we know from the myth of Krishna, by age 4. 5. Same time as language. So, why do we tell lies? We have to ask, as cognitive scientists, measuring neurons, why do we lie? It's not good. We try to prevent it, but we all lie. You think in your heads, interaction, I will ask you. I'm giving you a clue, Krishna, main nahi makhan khayo. Main nahi makhan khayo. Krishna is clearly eating the makhan because his mother tests him. And then something follows, miraculous. Then there's Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir tells a lie. And a very important battle-winning lie. It's in our epics. Why does he? He's the truthful one. He tells a lie. Q. We ask what are myths and stories preserved for us in cultural memory when they have myths. The Yudhishthir myth and Trojan horse myth. Anybody who does AI would know this. Do you know it? If you don't know, I will tell you later. It is, again, a war myth. You slip in the Trojan horse into its, we use it in modern AI. So Trojan horse myth, all of them involve deception. Okay, now lie has to have 3 characteristics. Don't try to remember them. It must assert something false. So supposing I say, Delhi is in Africa. It may be true, there may be a Delhi in Africa, but if I mean this Delhi is situated in Zanzibar, have I said something false? False or true? Think about it. You must say something false. Everybody should be able to fact check. Second, you must know that you're asserting something false. You must know this. And you must intend to deceive. Intention is very important because why? Because we do not have transparent screens on our chest or on our foreheads, which tell people about their intentions, which tell others about our intentions. Intentions are within us, and we have to figure out, like, how is the other person telling a lie or not, just to please me. This is one of the most important cognitive problems in intention to deceive. Okay, now this is a test. I won't give it to you, but it's basically based on these characteristics of the lie. We can say uh, if a little girl tells her mother that 1 and 1 add up to 11, is she lying? Is Yudhishthir lying? When I give these to students, I haven't given it to ChatGPT, whom I talk to every day, but I have given it to my students, and Indian students by far have a rank choice. And they think Yudhishthir is the worst because he had a question, he had obligations, responsibilities, and the little girl is the least problematic. Okay, so can AI machines lie? That is large language models. We put one word in front of the other. They have no incentive to lie because they don't have feelings. Most of us lie because we want to save face. We want to save other people's face. So machines have no incentive to lie. They are non-carbon. So they have no biological incentive to fit into social groups. This is one reason we lie. Your mother will buy you something truly awful, and she'll say, "Acha laga beta," or "Beti," and you will say, "Haan, bahut acha laga." You do not want to displease your mother. Okay, so this is happening all the time. Machines can mislead, but they cannot lie because they lack intention. We've just talked about intention. They can hallucinate, but they do not dream. Why? Human beings and all biological higher mammal forms need time to sleep and rest. Machines need no such thing. No sleep downtime. So machines are very good at mimicking human behavior, but they are not creative. So now here's a test you can all do. Now I'm going to just end with some tests for you. Do you see anything in these machines, in these pictures? You see something, right? Of course, they're not there. You know that they're not real, but your brain is tricking you into seeing faces. That's why I say the brain is a simulation machine. Okay, next one. These are very old. Do you see something? You see faces? Obviously, there are no faces there. No, but you see them anyway because you've been evolutionarily programmed by nature. You cannot help it. Now, machines are not programmed like human brains. So they do not have any incentive to see machines, to see faces in clouds. Human beings do because it represented danger. Okay, so I'm going to skip pictures of the brain. I deal with this every day, so we can talk about it. Where are the language areas, etc. Sound, Broca's area, Wernicke's area, those two little bits in the temporal lobe, they are register sound, etc. So we compare humans to machines. The brain and the body are extremely complex machines invented by nature that can control our personal thoughts as well as cultural evolution. Okay. Now, body. Where's the body? It's represented in the brain. That's the famous Penfield homunculus. It is a strip across the brain, which you can see the hands are big. The back is not represented. The mouth is represented big. It looks like a monster, but it is in everybody's brain. That's why, and machines don't have this. Okay, so more homunculus. There we'll just go. No, where are we going? I want to go. Can you recognize what's going on here? Human beings are guessers, so you will be able to maybe guess, maybe not guess. We can come back. What about this? This is the language of dance. Can you guys make out what these gestures are? Yes or no? Answer should be no, because you can guess what they are, but the exact meaning of this. So if I do this, Indians will know is Krishna playing the flute. Americans don't have a clue. So it's cultural and it's linguistic. Finally, I want to spend how many minutes? Just two? Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this, but these are very interesting results from Darwin, whose questions we reran, and we looked at all these basic emotions and also made think about them, sort of films about them. And we gave these kinds of faces to people. And what we found is that adults are very good. We tested 1,000 adults at recognizing complex emotions through pictures. Okay, 1,000 adults. Okay, then we skip this. This is when we looked at charts of language acquisition. This is what happened when we sorted the unsorted material. And you can see some emotions like happiness are required first. We got the mothers to tell us in narrow bands what they got, what they saw. And we are getting a very clear research picture of how emotions are required alongside language. Emotions are critical to human beings, and we could make maps of the human being. So we are going to now end, and I'll just show you narrative data. So we looked, these are 220 slides, and we are seeing 65 to 35 narratives are anger, fear, happiness, shame, basic emotions. Other emotions, boredom, disgust, hope, we tested for all of them extensively, are pure narratives. And finally, if you least narrativized emotions in Indian culture are contempt, deep thinking, hate, and curiosity. So we are going to skip codes, and I want to show you demographic data, which I'm going to skip, but we got very different profiles among lower income SES groups and higher income SES groups in the interpretation of emotion. So again, I'm skipping. Okay, now I will end with some tests for you. Give me 2 minutes more. Okay. You computers are good at this. I can bet you anything you will not be good at this. 2 of these poems are written by a computer. 2 are written by human beings. The hair ornament of the sun has sunk into the legendary sea. 1. 3. Silent midnight, silent waters, still frozen, battle dusk fear. All green in the leaves. 3 or 2. I smell dark pools in the trees, crash the moon has fed. Okay, haiku, just 3 lines. Can you guess which is which? You write down your answers and you can tell me. Computers are good at this, humans being not so good. Okay, next text. Is this poem, she thinks that he knows, she thinks that he knows that you believe, she thinks that he knows that you believe that I feel, she thinks that he knows that you believe that I feel, they imagine, she thinks that he knows that you believe that they imagine that we sense. She senses that he imagines that you feel, that I believe, that they think, etc., etc. Poem is called Love's Language Lost. It ends, she imagines love's lost language. Human or computer? Okay, try to guess. So this is my research material. And now, columns. Just guess. List 1 and list 2. Which words would you? Human beings are actually good at this, so I expect you to be good. Would you use in a poem? You don't know the meaning of most of these words, so you have to rely on your sense of hearing. Which words would you use? Hands up. Tell me. 2 would be for a poem. Okay, anybody else? 1? Okay, so you think about this. I know the answer, but you have to think. So these are tests which we run. This is Bhaskara, and I will end with Bhaskara. Bhaskara wrote about the Leelavati, which is a mathematical treatise for his daughter. While making love, a necklace broke. Leelavati is his daughter. A roll of pearls mislaid. 1/6 fell to the floor, 1/5 upon the bed. The young woman saved 1/3 of them, 1/10 was caught by the lover. If 6 pearls remain upon the string, simple equation. How many pearls were there together? If you don't do math, this is more difficult. But what is interesting is not that Bhaskara used poetry for mathematics because it's easier to remember, but that no machine would do this. At the end of Leelavati, he says, joy and happiness is indeed ever increasing in this world. For those who have Leelavati, which is language, and mathematics clasped to their throats, decorated as members are with neat reductions of fractions, multiplications, and involution, pure and perfect as are the solutions, tasteful is the speech of the emotions. Bhaskara is writing this in the 12th century, and what he is doing is what ChatGPT cannot do. Connect 2 different things. One is emotions, and the second is math. So this is where humans are different. So I'm recommending a STEM and LEAF a model. STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, LEAF, liberal education in the arts. I believe we can't do without this. And finally, I will end with a wonderful verse from Kalidas. So this is translated. If a professor thinks what matters most is to have gained an academic post, that would be me, a professor, where he can earn a livelihood and then neglect research, let controversy rest. He is but a petty tradesman at best, selling retail the work of other men. So I would recommend that we are today at a period where we cannot just do our academic courses because the syllabus is just too overburdened. So we need to think bold, we need to think STEM and LEAF, and we need to not be petty tradesmen when we come to understanding how the human brain or the machine silicon mind works. Thank you very much for your patience.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Nair, an absolutely fascinating presentation. It's going to, there's a lot to take away from your presentation. So this is a fascinating piece in which we have the unpacking of human cognition. I think 3 levels. You talk about language, you talk about emotional capacity and tool use, and how you pose the figure of deception to basically ask a very fundamental question about what is it that makes us human and the moral conundrum that presents. So friends, I invite you invite you to come up with comments, observations, questions.
Including research. So just say anything. The teacher is usually should think of herself as the dumbest person in the class because every student asks better questions than I'm able to answer. So you're not saying you're students, but I'm saying that this is courage. This is human. This is research courage. So please ask me anything. Like, what's the answer to your Bhaskara? Yeah. Sorry, I mean, I don't know whether the power is on. I think it's off. But just ask.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Firstly, I want to say you are super cute, and it was great to listen to you. And my question is that,
Okay, 1 minute. Supposing I wasn't super cute, huh? So Phil, you would say I dismiss you. This is self-deception. Okay, just to say. Okay, then
And my question is that, as you said that the animals, they don't lie, the creature, they don't even lie. Then we have the machines, they don't even lie. But humans, as we are the people who have seen the evolution for like so far for years. We are the most complex organism on earth. So do you think that deception comes from complexity of the creature?
So, and you can side, so what we are observing is people die, but if we didn't have language, we die without faces. We can show interest without faces and we're both ears. I've seen this in my classroom. You're sleeping there. I can see your face. Even if you're pretending, so we can die without faces. But we do a much better job to be lying in that. Exponentially better. So I would say, yes, we are complex language. And that language we have to put clever and also clever uses. One of the clever uses, because all of us have, I kind of be honest, because anybody in this never told a lie. So you learn be honest about this, you have told a lie. Because it is a genetic. It's a program of growth of that. So yeah, we are complex, we have language, we can imagine our complex, and we like to ourselves.
Thank you, ma'am.
Why is it better?
It was a wonderful talk. But I just was wondering because, like, as you said, that deception is one of the very human trait. I think even as a zoologist, we see deception among many animals. So I think no, it's just a comment. Maybe I think language just helps us to deceive better. Otherwise, deception, even in moths, when they yes,
The slide, painted eyes on a moth.
yes, definitely.
Then things like a particular kind of worm is called the great masquerader. Because
Exactly.
it mimics things.
Yeah.
There is widespread
Yes.
perception.
Beyond the animal
The
kingdom.
question is it intentional?
Yes. Is it?
It is programmed.
No, in some cases it is intentional also. Like we have certain apes which
Ape data I have looked at very carefully. You tell me.
they will try to appear bigger. They will puff up their bodies.
Yes,
That's
right.
for mating
In
purposes.
fight and
Yes.
fight and or flee situations.
And even during mating.
Yeah,
During bigger.
because those are pre-programmed in our brains. But as I said, the bee doesn't lie about the hive soil.
Right.
The peacock will not waste its time doing its dance
That's true.
unless it is preparing for mating.
Right.
So in that respect, and it has these eyes or cellus
Yes.
painted
Yes.
on it. So obviously we are studying nature very carefully and saying intentionality at the high levels of language and social building, social mobility is not present because human beings, and I mean, I've studied animals which have caste systems.
Okay.
Separate, they're called caste systems.
Right.
But they don't have caste in the way that we have caste. Cruel, unnecessary, but they have what the
Excuse me, sorry for. I'm sorry, I will have to call this session at this particular speaker interactive session off. Thank you so much. And that student, she'll ask you the question after this, I guess. I'm so apologies. I invite Dr. Saumya Malviya, our next speaker, speaking. He's going to give us some insights into mathematics and automation, I suppose.
So 30 minutes, right? 30. So Maitri College, my esteemed panelists and organizers of the Equinox, particularly Dr. Bhapati Roy, with whom I was in conversation with, for having me here. Thank you very much. So now, as when you start, say, for example, speaking at a conference, you usually begin by saying that, it gives me great pleasure to be here and I'm happy to be invited. Of course, all of that is there. But most importantly, it's literally from I used to teach at the university for a very long time, at different colleges at the university. And I also used to be not at Maitri, but just across the road. I used to teach at JMC for almost years. So it's sort of coming back to where literally I began teaching and researching. Now, when we talk about memory, it's actually our quite words. We usually understand example. The intelligence part is artificial part. But actually, if you ponder about it, look at it closely, to understand what is intelligence. Now, this brings me to the topic of today's talk that I'll be speaking about. The title for my mathematics and shall be. And I try to sort of present a set of questions so that some food some AI. So, can I have a quick sense of how many mathematics students are here? No? Are there science students? Okay, so let's try to think of the relationship between mathematics and AI. Give a set of questions, right? We can discuss and these questions once I've spoken in the session. Now, before I do AI, sort of interest in AI, let me start off as Professor Nair also did. She was drawing from her course, which she teaches at IIT. This is another course that I teach at IIT. It's the course is titled Science and Society, and a reading that discussed as part of the course text is written by a controversial German philosopher Heidegger. So let me start by say that I teach as that part of my course. That essay is titled Question Concerning Technology. It's a long thing, it's a complicated thing, so I'll just cut to the chase and I'll go back. Heidegger is trying to do that essay called a question concerning technology. Heidegger says that it becomes very difficult technology. So why is it so difficult? It is so difficult because it is so efficient. It is so efficient, it is so pragmatic, right? You want to achieve something, you apply technology to achieve it. So it sort of simplifies causality, right? That is the instrumental aspect of technology. And precisely because technology is so efficient that it is difficult to think about. Because after all, thought things, isn't it? If we are thinking about something that is and technology is thinking it, thinking because ultimately it is achieving something with quick efficiency. So why do we put it? Heidegger in this essay on the other says that there is nothing about interesting thing. The more we sense of technology, the more we understand the very nature of essence. So, when you understand what is technology, and what is. So, in a way, technology is human beings. What is the nature of our existence that is clarified if technology. Similarly, I propose to you today that when it comes to AI, is, but in case, in my Prof's case, it is mathematics. So if you observe the nature of causality, how causes operate in the case of AI, understand that appreciate the this. Mathematics. Why? What is so special about the relationship? So if I was, that's why I was asking if there are mathematicians, because if you talk to mathematicians these days, many mathematicians actually frequently use AI. Right? Why? Because why mathematicians use text and data analysis, yes. So data analysis actually is actually an exercise called formalization, right? Formalize things in mathematics using AI. So as you can see on the top of this slide, formalization is touted as the most contributing to AI mathematics. That is, so often when you write, and everybody has so everything is done. These are beautiful narratives, right? Now, why is it that mathematicians use it? They use it because the proofs that I'm talking about are simple in nature, but they are so highly complicated proofs. They run into pages. So those proofs are because when it comes to extremely complicated simplified calculations, often mathematicians it's actually a system, and there are other such examples as well. Right? So mathematicians have been using AI. Is it I mentioned some precursors on the screen and see that if you look at the so Burton Russell also it's but formalized mathematics, right? So we rewrote mathematics, which was first time, into the language of formal logic. There are other such languages as well. You can see in 1976, there are these three mathematicians, Kenneth Apple and John Koch, who entered the city of in computers. So I don't study geography and maps should be aware of color theory. It's about how you can color the map just colors, different areas are colored. So it was proved using computer. As the last point I mentioned in the slide says, that it's the landscape since are not just using AI sort of formalize data, analyze calculations, so using such AI systems in other mathematics as well. So now what it has done when mathematicians themselves are using so much AI, what it has done, it has become necessary for the mathematicians, much as it has also become necessary for social scientists in the age of AI. Think what is social science now? For mathematicians too, it has become imperative that they think mathematics. Now, this is a question that we see mathematicians answering so frequently, right? Mathematicians will just assume what is mathematics. But now, in the of AI, it has become essential for working mathematicians to mathematics. Picture of mathematical work. Actually, because of the dangers posed by AI, that people sort of become this fact that now mathematics in the yes. Now, if you look at the history of mathematics in the 20th century, and I've written about it elsewhere as well, that in the early part of the century, mathematics, the functions of mathematics were set in mathematics. After all, the foundations are clear. Mathematics is built on set mathematics anymore. Now, concomitant set of issues related to mathematical practice, accessibility of mathematics, institutionalization of mathematics, all social political questions will grow. Mathematics is a valued practice, right? Objective practice. After all, it's a given. Of AI and the managed mathematics, you will see people amongst the mathematicians asking the question, what is mathematics and what is value in the mathematical community? So, which actually is a from India. Just practices of valuation in mathematics. So Akshay Venkatesh quite clearly underlines just like any social practice, you look at religion, you look at kinship, you look at any kind of social practice, values. So these practices are practices of evaluation. And Akshay Venkat points out that they are us to think how is it that evaluation operates in the case of mathematics too. And he says, why is this? Because now this is completely altering the relationship with standard lemmas. Lemmas are the statements that we assume in order to they are changing. Certain fields are becoming also making the entire landscape function quite differently because now we see that the mathematicians which are far more interesting than the questions you know, working with. So clearly AI has generated this conversation on questions of mathematics and why we imagine them. Even more Akshay Venkatesh is one name, but there's another very famous mathematician of contemporary times named Michael Harris, who was still visiting questions and asking that first questions have to sort of think about choices deliberately. So he has raised some uncomfortable questions. So if you look at most of the conferences which take place on computational mathematics, says that if is mathematics, obviously it's the values which will stage of mathematicians. So this is the time such has to decide what is the history and the to decide the piece of mathematics. It also points out that we often when it comes to operation mathematics, that interesting part of mathematics, you central to mathematics in the room. That mathematical practice. It's today how things of mathematics proofs were not so central to the traditions. Right? It's now what as formalization central to the practice of mathematics. Otherwise, there are certain kinds of I think something which we agree with it because if so it gives this fascinating example. So when you think of AI, think of a concert, say for example, think of a concert. So you can see that instead of musicians playing, instead of us speaking, say for example, on the stage, you can simply put AI here. Now, we only when we have but the reception of mathematics is not something reception, meaning, creating practice. So, sort of coming to the discussion here, I began by saying, everything Heidegger ultimately should be AI and mathematics. We forced to read mathematics in the first place, a question which has been a very long time. As math educators, we tell you, the conversation that what is mathematics has not been happening. In fact, if you look at you- mathematics is perhaps the most self-evident content. There is perhaps neither a discussion on its history, nor a discussion on its purpose, nor a discussion on its value system, and so on. If AI is really altering the functions of mathematics, then perhaps some last sort of comments on this idea. I want to leave with this thought that we often think this is something discovered, right? We feel that, just like, say, for example, it's discovered. So believe that mathematics is discovered. But if you look at that you can start with a set of problems, and you can change and interesting. So it seems that as a philosopher which was also quoted by Nair, each time that said that perhaps AI has not discovered. We have mathematical books which have discovered. But it seems so what is so central about this? It's not formalization. It's so central in the experience of formalization. Formalize, categorize, classify, why sort of make something that experience of formalization is very central to the practice of mathematics. And in mathematics, you know, formalize not just potential sense of quantity something, potential infinity. If you keep on counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, not just potential infinity. In mathematics, we also formalize actual infinity. So the question arises: can AI of infinity? And interestingly enough, ChatGPT. ChatGPT's categorical answer was no. Infinity. So when I sort of queried, but what about potential infinity? So ChatGPT said that I can actually experience actual infinity. And actual infinity mathematics is based on, how poetry is based on, how ethical encounter is based on seeing the infinite in the other. So these sets of questions actually tell us that AI, certain kinds of conversations are. So I'm not, if you might notice, I'm not anti-AI stand here. What I'm trying to do is to see that, ChatGPT such late and so on are very much a reality to stay. The question then arises: how practices when such software AI systems are doing? What do we do then? And one possibility is that we researchers, college speakers should revisit how we do our disciplines, mathematical pursuit of mathematical knowledge, and not only the way we in order to questions which will that the questions were true. So if you look at 20th century conversations on logic, that transfer social questions, politics, and so on. Now, mathematics can be mathematics questions. But if I'm sort of making some sense to you, then it's anticipated. So think very closely of mathematics, that what mathematical is does it embody. So, I would like to conclude that many sciences and humanities, that mathematics is sacred, it cannot be touched. But if you are really interested in studying mathematics, there are issues scrutinized and studied regarding the social nature of mathematical work, and studies will not only for the mathematics first, also help us effect.
Thank you so much. Very thought-provoking presentation. I think there are two parts of it which really clearly stood out for me. And I'm going to sort of launch those for, in case there are questions. One is the discipline of mathematics itself. And I think what you're also suggesting is a critique, the internal critique of the Hilbert program and Gödel and, what followed. So this mathematics itself as a system that is incomplete and inconsistent. And you bring in the notion of mathematical practice to basically show us a way as to how that is. So that is a cusp, a very interesting cusp for us to pose questions. May I invite questions, comments, observations? Yes.
Thank you for your talk, sir. I'm a student of sociology, and we define sociology as general science. And I've been looking at the work of Sundar Sarakai recently, and he talks about science as something that is trying to define the object of nature, whether it's chemistry, mathematics, or physics. So the conversation that you're bringing up is very essential for sociology students, and I was thinking that in this same line of thought, do you think mathematics will no longer be considered a natural science, because as you said, it is something that's also invented, constructed, and not discovered?
Mathematics is a natural science, or is it an art? It's actually a very long debate. Right? So it's not just the fact of AI, but the very fact that sort of, so in fact there is a philosophical school which actually opines that mathematics is fictional. You also have Greek traditions of, there's a fascinating history of mathematics. I can give you the reference later, but it talks about how is it that mathematics science so mathematics was science. So it's actually a very, very interesting. I'm afraid we cannot sort of conclude right now. That can discuss that. So I've been looking at sort of insights from people like Jacobson and others to see how mathematics and poetry actually are quite similar in nature. So that debate is actually it's very interesting to see a small bit it's called symmetry, which is an absolute and how mathematics and art intersect. So, that was so you must have read, so that is essay 5 the books of Sikhism. That is actually the theory and symmetry to understand the social implication of function. So it's a fascinating sort of topic, yeah.
Is there another question? Okay. Maybe that's the last one. Yes, please.
Thank you, Professor, for the wonderful lecture. I'm sort of borrowing this question from previous discussions with Professor Nair, but I was thinking of biometric tests and how it is a science where we do not know if something goes wrong or something is, if our signs do not match, for example, the thumb imprint. So similarly, when we use AI, and as you were talking about formalization, there comes a time when the results or the calculations go beyond our, and I don't know if it has gone beyond. So how does a human being, is it through intuition or is it through some sort of an idea that something is going wrong or the AI might hallucinate at some point? So
Thank you for that question. Actually, this is trying to say, but even such conversations become possible when you have a reflective relationship to technology. So I'm sort of, in fact, I was pushing for that kind of relationship. If you look at mathematicians, if you look at journals, contemporary journals, many AI generated proofs are not accepted until you have narrative which supports that proof. So now what it does for the mathematicians, it forces because earlier it was very surveyable and it was readable. Now there are some proofs which are not surveyable. So now we need sort of that discussion. How is this definition of so you will older conversations from which many of us were actually excluded. Actually, it was a very specialized community. So that kind of discussion, say for example, after 18, there's so much discussion on mathematical modeling. Earlier, mathematical percent, but now we actually discuss the politics of mathematical models without accepting them. So it's a larger sort of conversation, but I'm happy to discuss it.
very interesting. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last but not the least, on the panel, inviting Professor Reema Bhatia. She's going to talk about reclaiming the web, feminist praxis in virtual spaces.
Hi, good evening to all of you. I know it's been a very long for you. I can see some very tired and restless faces and students just wanting to run from. So I wish to keep this very short and extend it beyond a particular point. I must begin thanking the organizers for the meeting. I think I must begin by thanking Saumya. And the reason why I must begin thanking Saumya because for I was very confused. How am I going to say what Professor Nair said? And I really was so in fact out to Anjali Bhatia. And she said, "No, you can't." And Dr. Tripathi said that. So then and the reason why uh, so is because he actually said correctly that politics is not as formed, it is chaotic, right? So that's exactly what I'm saying. From a gender perspective, I am not talking about AI because I'm to it mathematics because I was very happy with class 12 got had to do mathematics. So I'm so sorry about this, Saumya. So no mathematics. And I will talk to you how is it the gender of this is to study and what I'm trying to do is a possible kind of methodology for the study of the feminist on and a probable kind of I'm thinking about it and to share my thoughts with you. And I believe the statement which should resonate with something said, actually this is Prof. says, the that can be different under circumstances and in all stages of human everything goes. So that means what you basically see here is that anything, anything talks to you, anything speaks to you can be constructed as knowledge. So who is to tell us what is knowledge? Who is to tell us what is not knowledge? And to add to this conundrum, I also bring Strauss and his method of bricolage, in which he is basically talking about how is it that little bits and pieces fitting together to build a larger picture, and also how is it that the way that we function in this world has to be, a lot of it is intuitive, a lot of it is something that is a part of our tacit everyday. And who says that one is correct and one is incorrect? We have to be tidy. I'm chaotic as construction courses. So that's all right. Tackle them as come to that. So I just what I'm to say. And now this is just a small kind of history of the feminist in terms of how it happened. All right. Yeah. So this I shared. This so you can so to talk about how is it that digital feminist practices are unleashed of knowledge. So how is it that we talk about hashtag algorithms, etc. They are all a hybrid assemblage, and this is conceptual. This are okay. You can ask me questions, and so the girls went on to talk about just like hashtag #MeToo, sexism. So I had 70 hashtag local, which actually had to do tax on the sanitary pads. 2000 the Pink Chadi camp and students here. And of course, you have the very famous with all the students here. And just some words. It's also came. So, it's like must sanskari in the forms of sari, all of these, right? And then these must help support to the feminist, I would say. And then besides, and this is just a list of some of them. Actually, so I I don't think it out for you. Okay, just a minute. I think I missed it up. So I'll just focus on some websites which are interesting. So, websites. So, for example, and we have interesting campaigns like hashtag unwitching, then so campaigns like Wicker Street makes you makes you unsafe in the city, and this is because we actually shared conversations about topics which were tabooed. And then again started by Japanese teacher, and she is exist across social media of campus. This is just an illustration. Then we have resistance, because actually shows just call each other's have you, or just sleeping for that matter. Just some of the something called that happen. So you're celebrating skincare sessions, bakery workshops, fashion shows, etc. To get on with the discussion, see what I am trying to tell you here is, just give me a minute. Yeah. So as far as these websites are concerned, that these websites actually help make whatever is asset explicit. Set up which should be going to use which are supposed to be etc. And we also have these problems, but this also generates something called the counter public. And we talk about the counter public when we're talking about and what we're saying is that as far as the counter public is concerned, the counter public itself is actually so of its own. As far as the counter public is concerned, they are culture because as far as the so, shift in feminist platforms and circulation, and also attempts to that are concerned, satires, they provide you human sense, they provide you serious posts. And this becomes a part of the larger meta culture because to share it, it takes on a life of its own. So I culture. So these websites are concerned, we function as counterbalance, where feminist voices circulate, and this is outside the mainstream androcentric media. Of course, these are the kind of suppression and that is happening. But however, I'm has to be structure which is tacit, emotional, it is synchronous, it is something which exists in utterly chaotic world. You talk about it in terms of our lives. The digital practices actually transform the tacit codes, making them visible. Which I advocate in terms of understanding how is used. That's as well and sandwich. Satire, laughter, testing contribute to tautology, which is intersection. Can be a part of it. Of course, that is not to say that kind of restrictions that space has its own etc. So I am that. Thank you. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you so much. There's a lot there in online feminism. We are introduced to a method, the bricolage feminism, and that itself sort of, Reema, raises some questions about, can there be any tangible outcomes of that method? So anyway, I'm just opening up that for discussion. Any tangible outcomes. And when we're talking about using the web, I mean, is it some way related to the habitus? Is the habitus mobilized, so forth and so on? But friends, it's open to you for questions.
I'll just take a
Thank you so much. It's such an interesting presentation. So I'm topic that I'm sure all of us. Just questions. In terms of feminist digital spaces, how do you think the access of education and identity rooted, so for instance, in terms of caste and religion? So for instance, you mentioned from how different this feminist digital space from something like Dalit camera or which is second in terms of so there's a certain threat of violence that is in terms of accessing digital space. So I'm just trying to figure out how different, and it's just like conversation, like how different is the kind of somebody space. See somebody which happens for section here. So let's say so just that.
All right. Now to take your first question first, when you're talking about somebody like, let's say, for example, a Dalit camel speaking and with that, right? And you mentioned the Khabar Lahariya. In fact, the answer to your question is in your question itself. The moment you look at the Khabar Lahariya, you're actually talking about grassroots reporting. You're actually talking about sophisticated, not the Bakha, that kind of people, but people out in the world who just may pick up a camera and interview. So that's how Khabar works, right? And I did speak about the counter publics. Now, when you talk about the counter publics, and if you look at, for example, what Nancy Fraser is talking about, for that instance, the counter public in itself is actually how is it that the subaltern may speak, and not just one subaltern, but an intersection kind of speaking that may happen. And I need concrete examples. One of the students just finishing a PhD on memes, and she has actually done Dalit games. So that is kind of a thing. Second example is questions. This recent book, which is just that's the contribution. So it's actually sexual sexuality and from a subaltern perspective and from the point of view of I forget exactly, but from a subaltern perspective. And he was actually talking about the kind of face that one faces. And if you were to look at this essay in that particular book, you'll find that the screenshots, etc., that have been shared actually an essence of a sense, sorry, not an essence, the sense of the kind of violence that is faced. So trolling, so people we become a kind of to mention culture that we didn't talk about that much, but you see, it's a culture within a culture. So as far as a particular being, so I would actually treat online posts and this culture as cultural artifacts. So how you use them has to be embedded in terms of, to address what Anjali also said, has to be how you use them is like any other culture. So it actually stems from your habitus, stems from what you do with it. But of course, one must also realize that just as with participation, let's say for example, protests, in terms of all protests, also to do several factors which contain participation, encourage it or limit it, etc. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
One last question.
Oh, they want me to go. Thank you
Somebody
so
wants to
much.
have a last word.
No, no, they've already clapped, Anjali. They want to go home.
That is the brilliant answer.
Oh, wow. Was it the answer that clapped?
If
Okay.
there isn't
The chairperson is very kind, I must say.
a last question, then all this it was made possible because Maitri College decided to hold this seminar, invite the panelists, and it's made possible by the audience. So all this together makes up for a totalizing fact. My pleasure, privilege to thank Professor Nair, Saumya Malviya, Reema, and the organizers and the students. You've done a wonderful job. Thank you.
With this, we come to conclusion of technical session 3 of Equinox 2025. On behalf of Metri College and Equinox 2025, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all our wonderful speaker, Professor Rukmini Bhaya Nair, Dr. Saumya Malviya, and Professor Reema Bhatia for sharing their rich insights and speaking meaningful discussion in today's session. A special note of gratitude to our session chair, Dr. Anjali Bhatia, for guiding the deliberation with such depth and clarity. We hope the insights for today's session will continue to inspire, reflect, research, and dialogue beyond this forum. I would also thank all the participants and audience for your active engagement and thought-provoking questions. Thank you once again for being part of this intellectual exchange. Wish you a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, I told you I write books and I don't expect anybody to read them, but we did this collection to which 205 Indians have contributed on everything from Atma to beauty parlor because we wanted to take and gym. So we wanted to understand from a cross section of people how we understand our own times, but we think it has relevance to so many people. So I would like to present your college with it as a mark of my gratitude that you are holding seminars like this. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very Education program in Dr. Thank you very much. Personally, I thank you so much for, I learned so much. Yes. I will next six.